Not. Hey, welcome to another edition of the Trustcast show, and we have Josh Sanford disappearing, coming back. Yes, and we're excited to have him with us.
That was dramatic.
Welcome to the show,
right?
Josh. Pardon?
That was dramatic. I slipped out of frame and then I came back smiling.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Just want to make you nervous, get your heart rate up.
So, Josh started his law firm just months out of law school, which sounds crazy, grew it to the largest wage and hour practice in the country, then partnered with YouTube's Legal Eagle, and if you haven't heard of him, just go look him up, to launch a second firm, and co-founded a third focused on data breaches. And now he's building 4 law firms at once, and EKSM has already filed hundreds of class actions in under 2 years. So you started Sanford Law Firm in 2001. You'd barely had your license a few months. What made you think that was anything less than an absolute crazy idea?
Well, Zane, first of all, thanks so much for having me on the show. I am really excited to be here, and I'm excited to try to answer all of your really tough questions. But if you ask questions about me, they're going to be really easy because like all people, I'm like more than happy to talk about myself. I graduated from law school a semester early, and I was looking around for some jobs. I had an offer from the state of Arkansas for a government position, and then we had a budget freeze, and they're like, "Hey, we still want you, but we can't hire you yet." And then like a month later, "We still want you, but we can't hire you yet." And then 2 months later, "Still want you, but we can't." And I was just like, I can't do this. And it was 2001, simpler times. I just I rented an office space in my hometown, put up a sign, and opened for business. And I actually never looked back. It took me about 4 months where I was before I could like take money out of the business and say, okay, like I actually like, is this working? I have money. But it was pretty rapid, to get to where I thought I was having success. Although I will say the first check that I ever got as an attorney, it bounced. And the first client consultation that I ever had in my office, like literally like either the day or the second day after I opened my office, this woman was sitting across from me, across my desk, and she was crying, telling me how awful something was in her life. And she had like a 3 or 4-year-old son who was with her, and he was in the hallway outside the office. He found my door stops, for holding doors open, the little wedge-shaped hard rubber plastic, and he put them in his mouth like duck bills. He was running up and down the hallway going quack, 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 with my door stops hanging out of his mouth. And she was crying, and I was like, okay, this is what I went to law school for. I know how to do this, but I didn't know how to do this.
So you come a long ways since then. So you were fighting companies. So tell me what did the first year of starting? Because that does sound crazy. You get out of law school, and I'm going to throw up a shingle. And how did you go about getting clients? I mean, I know I'm going back in history, but it's kind of interesting.
Yeah, this is so old school. I bought a book called How to Start and Grow a Solo Law Practice by a guy named Jay Foonberg. And his book was from the early 70s, but I bought something called the Millennium edition, which is that it came out for the year 2000. And, it had some like kind of tried and true methods in there. One of the things was like, I went door to door to businesses and said, hey, this is what I do. If you all want to make referrals to me, I'd appreciate it. And I did that with like at stock brokerages for like trusts and estate planning. I was a member of a church, so there were people there who knew that I was a lawyer. So it's just like social engagement. I joined the Chamber of Commerce. I joined Kiwanis. I went to lawyers and was like, give me your conflicts, give me the cases you don't want, give me your knuckleheads, whatever it was. And like, I don't know, I feel like my best work has always been when my back's against the wall. You figure out a way to not go broke.
So how did you get into the practice of wage and hour practice? I mean, how did that develop?
Yeah, so I was still in my hometown, which is called Russellville, which is about an hour and 15 minutes from Little Rock. And it was 2009. I had been working a couple of consumer class action cases with a guy as co-counsel who's from Little Rock. And on one Monday, he calls me up and he was like, hey, man, I've been meaning to tell you, you've always got people coming into your office. You're meeting with clients. There's a type of case called Fair Labor Standards Act. People aren't being paid overtime. Here's what to look for. And I was like taking notes because I actually didn't really know what he was talking about because I didn't take any employment classes in law school. That was on a Monday. Then on Thursday, this guy comes in to see me about a credit card lawsuit. Like he'd been sued by Discover for not paying. And like he looks terrible. I'm like, what, bro? You look like wiped out. What's going on? He's like, well, it's Thursday morning. I've already worked 56 hours this week. And I was like, oh, lots of hours. I'm supposed to ask him about overtime. He was like, yeah, no, we don't get overtime. And I was like, oh, okay. Well, yada, yada, yada. We ended up settling that case and a companion case for $5.5 million.
Whoa.
And that was
there, how many people were involved in that?
we ended up having just over about 100 plaintiffs in that case. And that was my first exposure to the FLSA. Now, granted, it took a couple years for it to pay off. Actually, it took about 2.5 years. But that was my personal check was more than $1 million, and that was a lot of money to me. And I was like, okay, this is a new world. We're no longer fighting about like he said, she said, people crying in my office about mean family members, et cetera. That's all over. It's like this very technical, legal. There's like briefs. It's in federal court. I feel like an adult, doing like real legal arguments. I loved it. I mean, I was hooked. So I spent from then 2009, like the next like 7 or 8 years, kind of getting really proficient in the FLSA, and then saying, you know what? I love this type of work. We're going to blow this up. And we actually became the country's largest wage and hour practice in federal court. I filed more FLSA cases than any other lawyer in 2019, 20, 21, and 22. So those were heady times for me.
So you're admitted to practice in something like a dozen federal courts across the country?
In 3 states, and then admitted in probably like 16 to 18 federal districts around the country. But then we would also pro hoc in, and I had other lawyers in my firm who were licensed in other areas as well. We were never going to let venue be a reason that we didn't take a case. Wow.
So how does an employment lawyer in Little Rock or somewhere around there end up starting a law firm with Devon Stone, who's a YouTuber with millions of subscribers? I mean, so I see that you have a kind of a dynamic personality, and he does too. But how did you guys connect up? How did that work?
Yeah. So when we were trying to grow the wage and hour practice, one of the things that my chief operating officer and I came up with as a strategy was we were going to go around the country to injury firms and ask them for their employment referrals so that we could figure out if they had leads that we could help with. So we started going to conferences to meet these people. One time we went to a conference in Utah and just kind of randomly ran into this guy who said, hey, I have a conference in Georgia. You should come to it in December. And this is 2021. And I was like, okay, sure. We're going to conferences. We might as well go to this guy's conference. And this is a kind of a long-winded story, but I'm telling you, so much happened for me at this show that I have to tell you about it. The conference was itself not that great. However, There was a panel, and on that panel was a lawyer from Houston named Tommy Kirker. And the panel was about social media. And Tommy at the time was known on YouTube as Attorney Tom. He had about 500,000 subscribers, which blew my mind. Like I literally could not even comprehend what that meant. And he was saying like, content is valuable. Everyone should grow an audience. If you're a lawyer and you know how to talk to a camera or you could learn, you should have a YouTube channel. And I was like, yeah, I should do that. So this is December. And by the end of December, I launched a channel called, can you read that? America's
Attorney.
Yeah. And so,
that explains the sweatshirt that I was taking shots at you about earlier.
Yeah. And so my green screen is behind me because in Riverside, I can't turn on my actual background for like my studio where I record in YouTube, which is this cool, like computer generated scene that shows a bunch of Americana in the background. But if you want to see that, you can go over to America's Attorney on YouTube and check it out. In fact, I posted a video 12 minutes ago. This is Friday afternoon, so we'll see how it's doing later. But so I was like, yeah, I'm going to start a channel. And I'm really into golf, and Tommy was really into golf. We kind of hit it up. We started a friendship, and a few months later, I'm still not really doing much on YouTube, but he's like, hey, do you want to go to this YouTube conference with me in LA? We'll play some fun golf together. And I was like, yeah, let's go. Like, remember, in my mind, I'm like, meet people, meet people, meet people. That's how new things happen to you. And so we went to this YouTube conference, and Devon was there, and we met him. We got talking, and he and I kind of hit it off. And I had something to offer him that I thought was like very timely, which is my chief operating officer from the law firm and I had come up with a software tool, which we had named Lexamica, and we were in the process of building that at the time. And it was a tool designed to manage referrals between law firms on the plaintiff side of the bar. And this was a thing that didn't exist yet. It was to plug into the CRMs that plaintiffs firms are using. And my idea was Devon has this massive audience. They're just regular Americans. They need a lawyer. And I have this platform that we're building that's going to connect a bunch of firms. And so I offered him the opportunity to start a firm together, use my software, which was at the time was not even in alpha when we started talking about it, to refer those cases around and help his audience. And we talked for a while, and then eventually we struck a deal, and we beta tested the software through his YouTube channel. And now, like, Lexamica is a software company that a lot of your audience, if they're plaintiffs lawyers, are going to have heard of, because 5 of the 10 largest firms in the U.S. use it. And like literally thousands of lawyers use it every day. And it is the central nervous system for the Eagle Team, which is the law firm that operates on the Legal Eagle channel. Now, at Eagle Team, we keep the cases internally that we can, but we don't really have the scale to keep a bunch of cases. And Devon's primary job is content creation. And so we're very happy to be able to match people to the firms that we think are most likely to get them a good outcome. And that's what we do. And so that was early 23 is when we launched that. Well, it was about April of 23 when we went live. So almost 3 years ago now.
Wow, that's quite a story. So from attorney
Tom.
from nowhere. So how did you guys come up with the idea for the software? We did kind of skipped over that. It was just like magically it appeared, right?
Yeah. Well, my partner there on that project, his name is Gabriel Stieritz, and he's the CEO of Lexamica. And I mean, most people who know him think that he's a genius. I don't know. He is very, very wicked smart. But we're looking at the fact that, each firm has a CRM and they don't talk to each other. There's no interstitial solution for the data transfer. And yet so many firms are trying to work with each other all the time, getting leads back and forth in real time, getting status updates, getting payments processed, that sort of thing. It was a huge opportunity. And so we got it airborne with some of our own capital, and then we got an angel investor, and we just did it kind of like a software company.
Wow, that's impressive.
Yeah.
So, what did launching Eagle Team teach you about building a law firm that you didn't learn in 20 plus years of running your Sanford?
Oh, that's such a great question, because when you start out a business and you're the only person there, which is like, you hang out at Shingle and you're the lawyer there. I didn't even have any staff. You don't need a system or a process for a single thing. You are the system. You're the process. You do it all. You unlock the door in the morning, you make the coffee, you take the trash out, you answer the phone, you do it all. You don't have to systematize anything. But when you the bigger that you get and the more volume that you get of any type of process, the more repetitions of any functionality, the more important it is to systematize that and make it be something that can be repeated either mechanically or by training with another person. That's something that's scalable to a team, that's delegable, etc. And so because the size of Devon's audience is so big, and at the time when we launched, he had like 2.6 million subscribers on YouTube. Now he has 3.
I think he's got like
now he has 3.9 million subscribers. We knew from the jump that whatever we did had to be absolutely scalable. Like it had to be repeatable, had to be something that could operate inside of a software system in order to not break, so that we could actually provide good customer experience to anyone who reached out to us, whether or not we could help them. Because like a good experience for the customer, that's like my number one North Star.
So let me shift gears. So in 2024, you founded EKSM with your mission of becoming the largest consumer class action firm in the country. Where are you on that?
Yeah, I wonder if that was our mission the day that we opened. It's interesting because I told you the fun story about Sanford Law Firm and the FLSA and how we grew and grew and grew. But I didn't tell you that what happened at the end of 22 was we looked around and we realized that the underlying economic fundamentals had just shifted, mostly because of a U.S. Supreme Court ruling in January of 2018 that made it much harder to make class and collective action cases in the Fair Labor Standards Act ecosystem sustainable. So we shut the front door of the firm in October of 22. It was heartbreaking, had to lay people off, had to find new homes for people on our team. It was very difficult. And we spent about a year and a half working on the docket that we had. And we were also, we kept our marketing team, and we were sourcing class actions for some friends of mine who were working that type of case. And then back into the story comes attorney Tommy Kirker from Houston. We're still very, very good friends. He had introduced me to Devon. He was still like helping me grow on YouTube. And he said, you're generating these cases and referring them out and getting just a tiny referral fee. Why don't we build a law firm together that keeps these cases in-house? He had a friend named Elzey who wanted to do the legal work side of it. And so we started this firm, EKSM, the three of us, in August of 24. And since that time, this is almost perfectly accurate. We have filed one class action per calendar day since then around the U.S. We have cases pending in 48 states. And so I would say it's gone swimmingly. And on top of that, we have some really, really exciting stuff happening in the world of copyright law. We have a little docket of cases against AI companies.
So back up, because I want to know, how the hell do you file one class action per day? I mean, how does that work? So where do those clients come from, and how do you physically file that kind of, it doesn't even make sense.
Yeah. Well, so one of the skills that we developed at Sanford was breaking down the processes of what lawyers need to do inside of a law firm to move cases along into, the like discrete, definable, repeatable steps. And so, we have a marketing team who knows what they're doing. We have an intakes team that knows how to talk to people and get cases signed up. And we have a drafting team that can get lawsuits drafted and filed. We've got someone that just works on service. Then we've got a team of litigators that handles the cases once they're filed. And so I'm obsessed with systems and processes. I mean, that's the real answer to your question. Like, I think you have a kind of an inchoate question, which is, where do these cases come from? And the answer is none of your business. We have some proprietary tech that helps us find them, and then we use our marketing to get the plaintiffs, and that's what we're good at.
Okay, I like that answer.
Yeah. I'm willing to talk about a lot, but I'm not going to tell you about that.
Okay. So EKSM has filed hundreds of data breach class actions already. Walk me through what happens when a breach hits and how your team mobilizes.
Yeah. Okay. So our marketing team gets an alert that a breach exists from the tech system that we built, they launch an ad campaign that's targeted at the victims of that breach, and the ads start running. Doesn't take long for us to start getting leads. We have a dedicated intakes team, which includes an attorney whose her only job is the intake side of things. Like, she doesn't work on cases. She just works on talking to potential clients. And so from the moment that we find out about a breach, it literally, if it happens during business hours, we could have an ad campaign running within 4 to 6 hours. Could be a little bit less. And then, over the weekend, there's some lag, nighttime, a little bit of lag, but we get real serious about it because we're on a race to the courthouse.
So most people get that breach notification letter and just toss it in the trash. What do they not understand about what's going on there?
Yeah, and that's the right move for a lot of people because, like, the very smallest breaches that we work on are like 2,000 people classes, right? And the largest ones are like tens of millions of people. And it's not uncommon for us every week to have like a 50,000 person class case. You only need one person to launch a class action. It is true that when one of those notification letters comes in the mail, it's smart to reach out to a data breach law firm to see if you can be the lead plaintiff, because whereas in a normal case, the class member may get between $10 and $100 for participating, a class action plaintiff may very well get a service award of between $1,500 and $5,000 for being the lead plaintiff. And so, there's value creation there. And also, if you believe in the mission of like standing up for the class, asserting your rights against these businesses that are just completely negligent with people's data, then it makes sense to reach out. And that's certainly like what our mission is. We think that if you hold these companies accountable over and over and over and over and never let up, eventually they will start being responsible with people's data.
So, I mean, what does that look like? Because wouldn't that be a bad thing for your firm? if they were actually blocking people from accessing their data willy-nilly, which is apparently what's going on right now. I just got a letter yesterday.
Yeah, the answer is yes. If you wanted to get really microscopic, and I would say it's bad for my business, but it's good for society. Like, I want people's rights to not be violated. I think all lawyers who represent plaintiffs, they wish there weren't plaintiffs. Like, they wish that the world didn't create lopsided outcomes and victims and situations where people are harmed. But as long as there are bad events taking place, negligence taking place, like that, lawyers are in the business of righting those wrongs.
I wish I were young, tall, and good looking. May or may not. Probably not going to happen.
If you lower the camera, it can make you look bigger. I don't know. You can be as tall as you want online.
So you say EKSM has clients in 30 countries. Huh? It seems incredible that is that right?
No.
I pulled that.
We have cases filed in 48 states.
30. Oh, in 48 states. Where am I getting 30 countries?
I don't know, man. Wherever you want.
Okay. My researcher's in deep doo-doo. No, she's fine. Okay, let me try some rapid fire just for fun. Favorite thing about living in Arkansas that outsiders don't know?
The cost of living here is very low.
Best piece of advice you ever ignored?
No one is coming to save you. No one is going to fix your problems. If you are the person who accepts responsibility for whatever is happening in your life, you can fix it. It took me a really long time to learn that. A really long time.
Basketball, golf, or disc golf? Pick one for life.
Golf.
Okay.
Dude, I don't have the knees for basketball. I used to play basketball all the time. I used to play disc golf all the time. It's just golf now.
Okay. Most underrated legal movie or TV show?
I really love Legally Blonde. That movie is so funny. Oh my goodness, it's so funny.
One app on your phone you can't live without.
YouTube Creator Studio app, the one that helps me manage my YouTube channel.
Okay. English major to trial lawyer. Which skill from studying literature do you use most in court?
Ooh, that's a great question. I don't go to court anymore. I'm really on the business side of things. But I would say that if the purpose of studying literature is to have a better understanding of the human experience and of what it means to be a human, then that understanding is very transferable to the process of building and running a team inside a business that can have good outcomes.
So when you started your law firm, did you have any idea that you would end up being primarily a business person as opposed to practicing law? I mean, you still practice law, but did you have any idea, or was this some sort of a dream, or did it just kind of evolve?
It was not a dream. It was not a vision. I have changed so much over my career. I mean, just like what I'm into, what I'm interested in, what I'm proficient at has continued to grow and change over time. And one of the things that I've embraced the last 10 years is change. Like I think that change is a skill that if you get good at it, you can have a lot more opportunities. And I'm not married to what I'm doing now or how I'm doing it. I'm always looking to be challenged and to improve and to think about like what's next. And our industry, like at any given moment, you feel like things are static. But if you just step back, it has changed so much. I don't know how old you are, but when I opened my law firm, if I wanted to check my email, I had to physically unplug a wire from my phone, my landline phone, into my computer and do dial-up to check my email. Didn't I had a little brick cell phone, like a candy bar from
Yeah.
It's a different world, and advertising has changed completely. The way that people do business, like everything's always changing. I would just encourage people to just like embrace whatever is next and don't get caught flat-footed.
So what would you say? So I know a lot of lawyers who might watch this and think, damn, I want to do that. So what would you say to somebody who maybe has been practicing law for a while and they're interested in expanding out in different directions? What kind of recommendations would you make to someone who is thinking about, I want to do more?
I just don't know how you can advance along that trajectory without leaving the office and going to conferences or meetings or seminars or getting together with the people who are doing the sorts of things that you might be interested in doing. It's like, it's really hard to transform yourself in a vacuum. And I would just say that going out and meeting the people that you think might be doing things that challenge you is the shortest distance that you could possibly travel towards this new version of you.
So you're running four law firms simultaneously. How do you keep from, well, and then you're doing this little YouTube thing on the side. So how do you keep from running yourself too thin?
Unless it is raining or it's too cold, I start every day with golf. And I always go to lunch. I always go to the gym at lunch to lift weights. And I do a bunch of phone calls when I'm golfing, like on AirPods, right here. And when I'm at the gym, I listen to podcasts or I listen to music, and I'm just trying to like have time away from the things that I need to be thinking about at work in order to like recharge my brain. And my my goal has always been to build the teams that can operate without me, and to give them, to hire the quality of people who can do what they need to do without being babysat, than to give them the authority to go do those things. And I want to be a resource for those people. I don't want to be like actively managing them. And like, knock on wood, that's how these teams are operating right now.
So do you think, as far as hiring people, how do you hire people who are, or do you have any insight as to hiring people who are maybe better at that particular task than you might be?
Yeah, I will tell you, we have a very clear process, which is that when we advertise a position, we talk about our firm values, our cultural values in the job listing. When we evaluate people, we are evaluating them according to those values. When we interview them, we are getting into the weeds about how they interact with our firm values. And then we are training and coaching and hiring and firing according to our firm values, because we want people who are missionally aligned with what it is that we are doing. And I don't need people to have like a lot of experience. I need them to have capacity, and I need them to be aligned on vision. And then like, you trust them, and you let them become who they can be.
So you've got family in the business. Kirsten works at the firm. Anna Sanford Steeritz, I probably butchered that, is an attorney there. What's it like building something with family?
I've never known it any other way. So to me, it's super comfortable, and I would just suggest people have smart family members if they're going to engage in nepotism. Gabriel Steeritz, my co-founder at Lexamica and the CEO of Lexamica, is my nephew. And you can't, like, if you don't have the family members who have the chops for it, just don't do it.
So if you could go back to 2001 and give Josh one piece of advice about running a firm, what would that be?
Ooh, I would read The 7 Habits of Highly Effective. I would make Josh read that book once a year, every year. The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, starting in 2001. That's all I would do if I can only do one thing.
Right.
Yeah.
So data breaches are just really kind of exploding. Are companies getting worse at that, or are we just getting better at uncovering them before it?
It is becoming more lucrative for the bad actors to get into those databases, and there's an increasing amount of data that they can get. And so I don't think that companies are getting worse. I think in terms of protection, I just think that it's more lucrative for the bad guys to get in there and get data, so they're doing it as often as they can. So
EKSM also handles AI and cryptocurrency cases. Is that right?
Yeah.
Where do you see the next wave of class action litigation heading?
Man, it's so hard to know. I will tell you that we have a collection of 7 very similar copyright cases that we filed. And so it's funny because these cases, they have statutory damages, and the amounts at issue are literally in the hundreds of billions of dollars based on the size of the violation. But
Wow.
These are almost identical cases that we have filed against NVIDIA, Meta, Snap, ByteDance, Runway, OpenAI, and Amazon. And a couple of years ago, a type of case like this wouldn't have existed, but it does now. The allegations are that they have violated the Digital Millennium Copyright Act, which of course is something that, a lot of lawyers don't know that much about. But the AI is kind of changing a lot about the world and about business and inside of legal. So I would just encourage people to watch the news and think critically, like, are there legal violations that are happening based on what I'm seeing? And are there people that I can help because of these violations. That's kind of what our strategy has.
So tell me, the Digital Millennial Copyright Act, I've heard of it. I wouldn't be able to tell you the first thing about what it does, what it covers.
Yeah, it protects the creators of content who post their material online, specifically videos, from having those videos stolen and used for purposes other than that for which they've been posted for viewing consumption. So the nature of these 7 cases is that the companies pulled the videos down to train their AI chips off of them, and or their AI models, and yeah, it's actually pretty straightforward. It's just something that people like you and me probably don't think about very much.
So I understand the concept, and I just didn't understand, what that law was related to. But I understand as far as training your data off of other people's data. But in essence, isn't that what AI does? I mean, when you're talking about large language models, they're taking everybody's everything, and they're aggregating it and saying, okay, well, based upon all this information that we have, so if those kinds of lawsuits are successful, doesn't that kind of stymie AI completely?
I don't think so. And let me give you a model for how it potentially works for everyone. There's a case that was settled a few months ago called Bart versus Anthropic. And Bart was the class representative for a collection of authors whose books were the basis of training by for Anthropic, which has a tool out called Claude, which is an AI tool. And Anthropic agreed to pay $1.5 billion to the Bart class of plaintiffs for the IP that they stole from the class. I'm sure they don't call it stealing in the settlement, but they ingested all these books, and then after the fact they agreed to pay for the use of them.
So it's interesting. I use Claude a lot. I think it's probably one of the better.
I use Claude every day.
It's one of the better language models, and their most recent 4.6 nuts opus is really pretty remarkable.
Well, one of the reasons that it's great is that it's been trained on all of the best thinking that humans have ever been able to put together. Well, how did it do that? It scraped together that material without paying the authors for it. So
your claim is just that's not necessarily bad. It's just that you need to pay for it.
Well, it is if our theory is right, it's a violation of the statute. Now, whether it's morally bad or not is probably a different analysis. But if the model can't succeed without ingesting the information that it needs, and they're not going to be in the aggregate getting 3 million or 30 million or 300 million content creators on YouTube to agree to each get paid $100 for the use of their training materials, they can't get permission. Well, then maybe they can just steal it and after the fact get forgiveness, which is what we would call a settlement. Or, go to court and have a jury decide it. But it's like a pretty simple model, which is like they wanted this IP. The most efficient way to get it was to take it and then see if the people sued you for taking it. And of course, the answer is, yeah, they're going to sue you. And then you figure out how much is that worth and you pay it. Now, NVIDIA has a market cap of like somewhere near $4 trillion.
Yeah, pretty amazing.
It probably makes sense for them to do that from, outside of an ethical analysis, just from like a business standpoint, probably makes sense.
So when I look at a company like NVIDIA, how do you bring them in as a co-conspirator or primary? I don't know, because I always think of them as just the chip company. So how is it the AI? I mean, their chips obviously are the power behind AI, but how do you bring them into the class action?
Yeah, they actually, according to the lawsuit, and I mean, I don't think this part of it's going to be disputed, but they wanted to build a video production capability into their chips. And so they got the data sets off of YouTube and created a machine that does that. And that's
okay.
Yeah. That part was done not in coordination with any other defendant. The allegation is like they just wanted that capability for themselves, so they took it and did it.
I understand.
Yeah.
Okay, so you went from Russellville High School to building a national legal empire. What do you want the firm to stand for when it's all said and done?
I very much believe in the rule of law, and I want everyone whose rights have been violated to have the opportunity to get the best possible representation for the type of claim that they have. And to me, it's just like an absolute honor to be able to represent individuals against the biggest, most powerful companies, defendants, whatever, in the world, because the court system is the way that as Americans we've agreed to resolve our disputes. And I don't want people trying to go fight each other on their front lawns. That's why God created lawyers. If you have a problem with someone, get a lawyer and go to the courthouse, and we don't have to punch each other in the face. Let the lawyers do it with their words. And so I want the opportunity to stand up for the little guy. That to me is like the highest, best use of a lawyer's skills, and says to me that the American experiment is working if that's how we're resolving our disputes.
So if somebody watching this just got a data breach notification in the mail, what should they actually do?
Call me. We're here. Yeah.
So how do they get in contact with you?
www.EKSM.com. Yeah.
Okay, Josh, I think we're going to wind it up right there, but thanks for coming on the show. That was great. So let's talk about content creation. A lot of lawyers don't know what kind of a difference that can make in their practice, particularly video content.
Yeah, well, I think that one of the things that we've seen as a trend over the last 20, 25 years, but it's accelerating every year, is that the audiences that used to be out there are becoming more and more splintered and fractionalized, and people are able to go consume the type of content that they themselves particularly want, right? There's not 3 networks anymore. There's 100 million content sources. And I just think it's the best practice for any lawyer. If you are talented in some area or you are obsessed with some type of content, that you make content around that for the public to consume, because you can be an expert voice for that type of content, and it's going to have immediate value, it's going to have long-term value, it's going to set you up as an expert. And like, I started doing long-form YouTube content because that's the thing that I wanted to do. But I just think it's ridiculous for lawyers who have the capacity to become an expert, visible to the world in a certain area, to not do it. Like, we need to be a resource for the public. And this is especially true if AI is going to be trained off of the content that's out there. Then you want those sources of, because the AI companies are now mediating who knows what about what to the public. So make sure that the AI knows that you're the expert about the thing that you're the expert about, so that you get pushed towards your potential customers or clients.
Okay, Josh, thanks for that. I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
I'm going to press this stop again.